Hello, everyone, and welcome to Think Ribbon, the podcast where we talk about the things that we think about. I am your host, Kai Morgan, and I am joined today by my friend Diamond.
Hello.
Would you like to introduce yourself to everybody?
I'm Diamond. I am 23 years old, and there's not much about me, if I'm honest. I work in retail, and my hobby is this.
Well, you're a
Bas-
gamer. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, basically this. Yeah, I'm a gamer. I love gaming. I actually only picked it up properly about 2.5 years ago, so I'm sort of new to the community, if you
Very
will.
nice. Well, I'm glad to have someone here. Um, we're just trying a couple different things with this podcast. I'm new to it, and I'm still finding out what works. And I can't just do a podcast talking by myself. I know that people do that, but that's not for me. But anyway, so I know that this is your first time on here, but we're gonna get into a kind of heavy subject for some people. I think it is, but before I get into this, I want to ask you a question that I think might be kind of personal. It is to me, but and to be fair, I'll answer first. And that question is, what do you want done to your body when you die? Dun dun dun. For me,
I just,
um, what?
I just heard what do you want done to your body, and I
Not
forgot you were going to finish your sentence. I was like, wait.
for like burial, you freak. Jesus Christ. Oh my god. Um
Hey, there's a place in hell for everyone. I'm definitely in there, alright?
I will see you there. No, so my answer has always been, because I found out it's actually legal, a lot of people think it's not, is what's called a green funeral. And that's when you don't get embalmed, you don't get pumped full of chemicals, you don't get anything. You're literally just wrapped in like a shawl and put in the ground, and then you decompose and you go back into the soil and return to the earth. I don't know. I find that comforting. What about you?
I guess a boring answer, if I'm honest, compared to that. I just want my body to go to science, anything to help progress in the science world, finding out things that makes the body tick, anything that can, you know, I'm guessing they would use it to find out the cure to cancer and stuff like this. Like, it can be taken to do anything with. My nan says like doing the same thing. So yeah, I
Yeah.
guess that's really it. I mean, I already got my organ card, so if I die in a car crash and I'm
Oh, me
passed away,
too.
it's going to someone else. I didn't
Yeah.
do it. My mum did it, and she was like, "Oh yeah, here you go. You can give your organs away." I was like, "Oh okay, thanks for the consent, mum."
Well, like so many people are weird about that where they're like, "No, I'm not going to be an organ donor," but it's like you're going to be dead and you could help people. Like after you're gone, you can still like contribute to the world. I don't see the problem. Just don't take them while I'm still alive.
Yeah, make
Although
someone do.
like there's those like murder documentaries where someone kills someone because they know they're an organ donor to try to like get someone to get a kidney or something, which please don't do that. Like that's ask. Okay, so the reason that I asked this is because there's a brand new I don't know how long it's been around, but like it's still very early on, and it's called human composting. And for those who don't know, composting is sort of like when you take food scraps and coffee grounds and paper and some other stuff, and you put them in a thing and let worms kind of do their thing, and they turn it into
Okay.
just very, very nutrient rich soil, which is really good for, plants. It also helps with CO2 emissions, and there's just nothing but benefits, really. And what they're doing now is instead of being cremated or instead of a green funeral like I wanted, you get put into these sort of like pod chambers, and then you get composted. You decompose, you break down, and then you get to choose where your soil that you're now made of goes. So you can, be spread across an entire forest, or you could be in like your daughter's garden or whatever. And it's sort of a really cool concept, and what they're trying to do is get it to be the norm. But what do you think about that? Because like I just found out about this. That's why I'm bringing it up, because I'm like, oh my god, that's crazy.
I mean, I'm really open to anything, if I'm honest. So that idea isn't so shocking, more as like, oh, we've only just thought about that. Like,
Hmm.
that's like a really great way to. I'll be funny. Like, we run out of space to bury people.
Yeah.
Like, that's why you get places that are like built over burials, because they like. Oh, I think I was watching a horror movie or something,
Yeah.
and they were saying
Poltergeist.
Yeah, like they had to build over it, and that's why trapped souls and all that. I just if there's a greener way of like getting rid of people's bodies, and it's I still think it's humane. What's more humane than giving back to the world that you lived in after you've passed?
So, in case anyone wants to know more about this, the company is called Recompose, and it is in Seattle, or in Kent. Wait. Okay, well, it says Washington, and I'm pretty sure it's in Seattle. I just pulled up the article just so I could like reference that. But I got this from there's a channel that I really like to watch called Ask a Mortician. It's hosted by a woman named Caitlin Doherty, I think, and it's such a good channel. I have, like probably many people, an extreme fear of death. I think I was maybe like 8 years old when I had the moment of, oh my god, I'm gonna die one day, and that's really young to like figure that out. I was too young, and I remember like crying at night, or like going to my parents' bedroom just being like, Mom, Dad, I'm gonna die, and they're like, oh my god, like go away. And I don't know, that channel really helps, like if you're in that same boat as me, that channel really helps break things down, because she's an actual funeral home director, and she like talks about like everything from embalming to like this and that, what are your options and what you should do, what you shouldn't do. And then like also she likes to talk about like famous cases of death and stuff. It's really, really interesting. It's a great channel.
That's good.
So anyway, not sponsored or affiliated. I would love to have her like on here, but I don't think that's gonna happen. They've got like 1 million subscribers. Okay, so we got the heavy stuff out of the way. I just had to bring that up because I found it really interesting.
No, it's nice. It's good to talk about it.
By the way,
needs a little bit of
do you like my cat mug?
If that was a dog, it'd be Rosie. No, Sophie.
Inside joke. To sum it up, I accidentally called her dog by her cousin's name. I don't know which one's which anymore. Rosie and Sophie. I called one by the other's name, but anyway.
Rosie's ginger. She's not strawberry blonde, okay? My cousin's strawberry blonde. Well,
yeah.
She's blonde, but she's got freckles.
You're definitely a dog person, and I am definitely a cat person. Not that I don't love dogs. I just, if I have to pick.
I'm exactly the same as you. Like, opposite way around, though, if I had to pick.
Well, because, like, cats, like, I relate to them so much. They just like to stay inside, and, like, you just feed them and leave them alone. That's all I want.
I definitely relate to that for sure.
Yeah, but you're outgoing, though. You like to, like, talk with people.
Yeah, I like to talk to people that I like to talk to. If that makes sense. If I don't know you, you're not like not on my level, but like on the level of friendship. Sorry, that's what I mean. I could think.
Stay in your lane, love.
I promise, I'm not like that. But yeah, once you become a certain level of friendship with me, it's like there's nothing off the table. And you can speak from experience for that.
No, I know. Well, like, because I remember first getting to know you, like, there's certain people that I meet in life that, like, I'm always not envious, but I don't know what the word is. It's like, I wish I could be as outgoing or as, like, it's just that paralyzing fear of walking up to someone and saying hello. That's an introvert thing. If you don't have that, you're probably not an introvert.
Yeah, see, I was like that, and then I worked in retail for 5 years, and it kind of just dissolves that part of your anxiety, 100%.
Yeah, I guess that's true, because anytime I've worked in food service or retail, like, by the end of the day, you have no problem talking to people because you've been doing it all day, but, like, when you're not in that mode, like, I mean, like, introverts have a lot of struggles that people don't talk about, like, for example, dating. Do you know how fucking terrifying it is to walk up to a girl at a bar and say hello, like, or buy them a drink? It's so scary, and it shouldn't be, but it is.
It's same for girls, I've never walked up to a guy and asked him out. Never.
Well, yeah, because of social norms.
Yeah, I've always spoken to someone online first.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's get into the dating advice. If a guy is like me, super introverted, really nervous to talk to a girl or approach a girl, how would you recommend they go about it? What to do, what not to do?
I'm gonna opinions here because I'm gonna basically talk about the two types of girls because I am both. If I had a guy come up to me and I didn't know who he was, I hadn't even made eye contact with them, and they started talking to me, I'd be a bit like, who are you? What are you doing? But also, how else are you meant to talk to a girl? If that makes sense. Like, girls need to understand that a guy's going to shoot his shot if he wants to shoot his shot. If he respectfully does it and you decline, then that's it. That's done for. But there is that like tiny part of you that inside just cringes, like, oh, why did you have to talk to me? Now I have to talk to someone else. And it's like, whether like, because it is so hard to say no to a guy because no matter how nice you do it, it's still gonna hurt their feelings. It's still gonna hurt, and it's really hard. And sometimes you have to be mean about it. I've had to be mean about it before, not like in person, but online. I've had to say like, look, I don't fancy you that way. Please, like, leave me alone. Not in like they wouldn't like bombard me, but I would have like a same message from the same guy like once every couple months. Hey, are you single?
Yeah.
Hey, you want to go out? And it's like, don't be that guy. Like,
and
understand the situation.
to come to your defense, I've been that guy, and I look back on my younger self, and it's cringy as fuck. But what ends up happening is there's this thing where like when no girl will talk to you, and then one finally does, you think like, oh, I must have said the right thing or done something or they're special, and you just get like fixated on this one girl and you try to like talk with them more and more, and you don't realize that you're bothering them. And I know it's painful for everybody involved. But like it's so like there's so many like eggshells to walk on, and it's also kind of like a combination of a minefield, and you just like it's hard. And it's not just dating, it's also like making friends. It's so hard to make friends as an adult. Like nobody tells you that.
It really is. Like I don't know if she'll watch this, but I've just recently lost my best friend of like 9 years. Not lost, like death. Like we're not friends anymore. I just want to clarify.
Are they being composted? I'm kidding.
And it's hard. It's hard to deal with. Like we're just both in different places in our lives, mentally and physically, and we just don't gel as well as we used to. And there's some certain things that we both don't want to put up with, that we both can't help, and it just kind of like fizzled out, really.
So was it like a slow fade, or was it like a friend breakup?
Well, we've had multiple friend breakups. That's why I think the longest friends that you have, the more times you break up, if that makes sense, because you're so passionate about each other, like dating. It's really hard to talk about, as if like we're just talking about friendship, but yeah, you're so passionate about each other and you care about each other, and I think someone's always the giver in like giving their time, and someone's always taking it and not giving enough back. And I think that is the key thing in friendships making it last, is giving what you're receiving on the same level, because you know if someone's feeling left out, you wouldn't want that.
Yeah.
But you also have to hit reality and be like, you're an adult, you might have to deal with certain things a different way now, because you can't just go in your room and cry about it.
Yeah, I've always said that there's a successful combination. It's sort of like that opposites attract thing, but in relationships, mainly romantic ones, but this can apply to friends too, there's the gardener and there is the flower. And that role is not always exclusive to each person. Sometimes you switch. Like me and my partner have a thing where sometimes he's the daddy and sometimes I'm the daddy. And that's when it's like, okay, like I will be the one to take care of you right now because you're tired or you're hungry or whatever. But then sometimes I want to be taken care of. Like you go get me food. Like you take care of me. And it's really nice to have that person that you can just switch modes with like that. You know, it's like, you know what? I don't feel like being an adult today.
Applications, send me out. I'm daddy.
Daddy applications. Oh my god, that would be a great like sequel to this. We'll read them. Like, why do you want to be Diamond's daddy? Like in 30 or 2,000 words.
I can cook, okay, and I can make you laugh. That's all you need.
She can make you laugh. I'll vouch for that.
Myself laugh.
All right.
Why is it we can't stop laughing when we go on video?
I love it. It's weird though, because usually we only hear each other. Like,
Yeah.
this is our first time really like having a like face to face like Zoom call. Like, okay,
It's like
so
really-
we need to start strategizing for the market share or whatever business people
It's like
say.
with the suit and tie and everything. It's so profesh. Can you imagine? Ugh.
Ugh.
It'd be like 50 Shades of Grey.
Like, ironically, I only like to wear like business clothes like if it's gonna lead to sex. You know, like the professor or like the office worker fantasy. But like to wear it normally, ugh.
That's the first time I've heard that before. I won't lie.
Hey, men in suits. It's like a thing,
Yeah,
right?
but
Like a power
Yeah,
dynamic.
but to only wear it if it ends in sex. That's the thing I'm more like concerned about.
Yeah, that's where I'll dress up like all nice and then knock on the door and be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, this must be the wrong classroom." No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm not kidding, but you know.
I don't know. I think men should dress for themselves as well. You should definitely
Yeah.
dress just because you can.
I don't know if I want to comment on that because like I have very strong opinions about fashion. Like, having been a runway model, I briefly entered the fashion world and it is stupid. I will vouch for that, but at the same time, there is a certain level of you should try to like look fashionable and look good. And I understand some guys just want to be comfortable, you know, and that's your prerogative, but like when I see socks and sandals, I'm just like, "Oh my god, I don't want to be your friend."
It's a thing now, isn't it?
And
Oh my God,
you
it's
like
so
if you're at
bad.
home, sure, fine. But when you're out in public and you're wearing like,
It's just- No, please stop.
okay,
You
so
do
it's not
this.
just me.
Stop.
Yeah, there's no time is it okay to wear socks and sandals, you know.
Like just wear sandals. You'd look better. They don't
Mm-hmm.
have to wear the socks.
Okay, I'm glad I'm not the only one. Like when people are like, "Oh, you're wearing black shoes with a brown belt." It's like, shut the fuck up. Like,
Yeah, that's a bit. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't blend silver and gold jewelry. That's just a personal preference. But like, yeah, I get the whole the belt and the shoes kind of thing. Although to be fair, it depends how far you want to go with fashion because you can just wear a nice outfit and then you can take it to the next level and match like your shoes, your bag, and things like that. Like that does take it to the next level.
I just
If
suddenly
you feel that
realized,
way.
you know how there's those subscription services where like you just pick out a style and they send you like outfits and it's like here's
Or,
like
Amazon.
clothes. Now I understand.
Amazon does that.
No, like I always was like those are so stupid. Like that's like who would fall for that or whatever. But now I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, people who wear socks and sandals might need that.
Yeah.
Oh god.
I can just imagine them wearing the most ridiculous outfit, like scuba wear and some shorts, and just like, I don't know how to dress. Someone help!
Some people are like that. When I was a kid, I was like that. Like there's this one photo of me wearing a tie-dye Lion King shirt that's like red and orange, and then I'm wearing teal like aqua shorts, and then I'm wearing socks and water shoes. And like when I look at that photo, I'm just like, wow, I've come a long way.
I was younger. It's all okay when you're younger, isn't it? Because like no one's there to tell you different. Like I was wearing a Hannah Montana hot pink t-shirt and some hot pink not khaki trousers, but those style trousers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and silver sparkly ballet shoes.
Oh.
It was a look. I love that. I love being young and not caring about what you look like.
Yeah,
It's
well,
fun.
when you're a kid, you kind of do whatever you want. Like, do you remember when you were a kid and like people just didn't register as people to you? They were like obstacles. Like you just run into a crowd and be grabbing like crotches and butts and being like, excuse me, and it's like, as an adult, that's like mortifying to think about.
Everything is just fiction. I remember, it's now called role playing as you're an adult, but when you're younger, when you're role playing, it was like the best thing ever. I mean, we used to have this tree, and we'd imagine it was our house, and we'd climb around the tree pretending it was our house, and I'd just sit there. Imagine doing that now, and the looks I would get in a tree, just like.
I'd call the police. Be like, there's a crazy woman climbing a tree in our front yard. No, yeah, good times. Well, like, it's interesting too because going into video games, like, as a kid, I used to like play with my cousins and play pretend and, you know, all that stuff. Like we'd have a plank of wood and pretend it's a gun and all that. But then when I was by myself, I would play video games as if I was playing with action figures. So like, for example, playing Resident Evil 2, I would like make a story. So like I'd turn off the music of the game, so it's just the sound effects, and then like I'd pretend that the zombies were actually like cops that were alive, and as Claire's shooting them, they're like, what are you doing, like and falling, and then just, like Claire's evil. Like it was just like, I look back on my younger self sometimes and I'm just like, interesting, okay.
I had a similar story to that. So it's actually this house that I'm in now. This is my old house where we used to live. My brother lives here now with a few friends, and we used, in the garden, I used to pretend to hide behind the gate and be a zombie, and my brother would pretend to shoot me. And we'd be in Resident Evil. It was brilliant.
Oh, that's so awesome.
I loved it so much.
And speaking of Resident Evil, why Diamond Key? Why is that the item you latched onto?
See, it's a mixture of it being purple, because I love purple. Very shallow, I know. I really liked Resident Evil 2. I'll be the first to say I played the remake before I played the original. So, and that's just to do with...
Wait, what?
Getting in. Yeah. Did you not know that?
Wow. Just dropping a bomb like that. Continue.
But don't forget, I joined gaming late. Don't forget. And, like, I didn't have the consoles. I had the PS4 because my brother bought it for my dad for his birthday about, what? I think it was 3.5 years ago. Something like that. And then I just started playing it because he never played it. Because I was bored one day. So it's like... I never got the introduction to gaming as like you did.
Okay, so hold on, pause, because I'm processing all this. What was your first Resident Evil game?
To play or to know about?
To play.
I can never remember. I really think it was 4. Like properly played it was 4.
Okay.
Because it was... I remember it so vividly. Do you ever have memories and you just like you can see it in front of you happening? I was living downstairs because we were decorating my room upstairs, and it was just like a little cubicle of a bedroom. Honestly, it was tiny. And I think this is when I can't remember who told me or what, but I remember it being on the PS4, and I was like, you know what, I'll buy it. And I started playing it, and I was just like, oh, okay, this is cool. This is quite scary. And I remember being stuck on the fight in Resident Evil 4 where the cages drop, and that was like my first gamer rage, and it was like, oh, I didn't know this was a feeling, I didn't know this was an emotion. And that kind of started it all off, to be honest. I'm pretty sure it was 4. That wasn't the game that got me into Resident Evil though, because I kind of liked Resident Evil before I started gaming it.
Okay. So
which is like an odd thing, I guess, because you'd think you'd play the games first and then get into it, but yeah, I had a very odd introduction to Resident Evil.
Well, and that's the thing I try to remind people is like everybody always has strong opinions on which one's the best one or whatever, but you have to remember people of different ages started with different games, and at this point, however you got into the series, if you're part of the fandom, you're part of the fandom. Like, welcome. There's no gatekeeping. Like, don't be that person that's like, oh, well, that one sucks, so you have bad taste. It's like, shut the front door.
Just to touch on that, I fully understand if you have both consented to a debate, right? And you both want to talk about your opinions on the games. That's totally fine. But if you start throwing your opinions into a conversation that no one asked for and no one's, like, really having it out, then that's when, you know, it becomes, like, a hate speech of, like, you can't like this game, I like this game, which means you must like this game because I am right.
Yeah, it's really frustrating when people do that. Like, have your own thoughts and opinions. Because, like, speaking of Resident Evil 4, I remember when that game came out, it was before, like, the internet and social media is what it is now. In fact, there was no social media. I think like, there was, like, MySpace. And I remember, like, I was just like, Resident Evil 4, cool. And that was it. There was no, like, well, wait a minute, where's the zombies, and what about this, and da-da-da, and, like, fan theories, and blah. No, I was just like, yay, a new Resident Evil game, and that was it, period. So, like...
That's how I feel now.
But now what happens is people go online and check social media and be like, okay, well, what are other people saying so that I can see what they say, and then I'll know what to think. It's like, don't do that. Have your own thoughts and opinions.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. It's cool to have other people's thoughts because like they might open up something you never thought about, but don't piss in their cereal.
Yeah.
Let them have fun.
And if you see something that you don't or that you don't agree with, just let it be. Like, some people like other characters or other whatever. Some people think Silent Hill's a better franchise. Like, everyone has their thing that they like.
Exactly.
And speaking of opinions, so we posted in the Ink Ribbon Discord server to have people send in some questions. I don't know how many we're going to answer today, but we'll get to all of them eventually. So first question from Ogre, I think.
I would just say OGIHR. That would be probably the best
Okay,
way to
that works
say it.
too. I have one question. Has anyone besides me actually played the Resident Evil 2 board game yet? Have you played the board game, Diamond?
Negative.
Okay, well, I attempted to, and there's actually a full video of this on the Ink Ribbon channel where I failed in the most spectacular fashion at trying to figure out how to play what I thought was going to be a simple board game. It's not. I learned the very hard way that, oof. And I feel really bad because I remember his last name is Kaplonsky, but he was one of my patrons, or maybe still is. I can't remember. There's too many things going on. But, like, he bought it for me as a gift. And, like, I was like, I'm so sorry that I'm so stupid that I can't figure out how to play this game.
That's not the gift, though. Come on.
I have it on my shelf. It's right over there. I see it right now, and I love it. And maybe eventually I'll go back to it, but I still have trauma. So, moving on. Ghost Matter 98 says, my question is, what classic Resident Evil characters or enemies would you like to see make a return in future installments of the series? That aren't still in the series.
I'm awful with the names, so I'd have to describe it.
I think Crimson Heads were really cool, and those should come back, because they were only in the remake.
They were terrifying. Just the noise they made when you walk into a room. You're like, nope.
Well, they were also very fast. That's what scared me, because you're just like, whoa, like, you're like,
yeah.
fuck.
That exact expression.
Yeah, no, that's like, oh my god. Like, Resident Evil 4 VR, there's so much of that. Something just runs at you, and you're like, ah! Because it's like suddenly, mainly Ashley, because like, you turn around and she's right there. You're like, fuck!
Before I say anything, I just want to get out there that my connection to Resident Evil is very different to Kai's. Where you like understand the lore and absolutely everything about it. Well, not everything, because there's still games being made, but I don't tend to focus on the facts of the game. I'm there to have a good time. I enjoy it. I love the community. So this is why I don't retain all the information. So if I seem like dumb, I'm sorry, but that is why. Just want to clarify.
No, and you're fine, because like a lot of the Resident Evil community is shockingly wholesome and so respectful and nice. Like, it's very rare you encounter toxic Resident Evil fans. I mean, that side of the fandom does exist, but like when you get to like be part of the community and see how people are, everyone is so nice. And like, I mean, there's so many people from different walks of life, and we all agree on this like one thing, and it's really beautiful. Like, I mean, you've got people who are like Republican gun nuts, and then you've got like LGBT people, and then you've got like, black people, white people. Everyone just comes together, and we're like, we love Resident Evil, and it's really cool.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't have a specific enemy, but like, I mean, I don't want. I went like, okay, right, so
like, oh my god.
Oh my gosh, sorry, what? So, I think it was Revelations. What is the one that's like, it's on the boat, and he's basically consumed by this enemy. He's like, Mayday, Mayday.
Oh yeah, he's got like a giant saw.
Yes.
On his arm or whatever. I don't know the names of any of those monsters, but I know what you're talking about.
But that was like, that one made an impression on me, and I want that like feeling again. That impression that you get from an enemy. Like, whenever I fight that bit, whenever I played it, because I tried to platinum it, it was quite hard. I would just like dread this bit. I'd be like, I have to fight it.
Yeah.
Every time, and that's what I like about these games, that they can make you feel that way.
Okay, it was scary the first time, but then once I had like super powered weapons, it was like,
I mean, yeah,
I'm gonna
if
make
you've
you
got
my bitch.
if you've got infinite ammo, no game is scary.
All right, Tom Nook asked a couple questions. Future ideas for my channel. What would I like to see for Resident Evil 9, or the future in general? And what do you think about the Resident Evil film and Infinite Darkness? Future ideas for my channel is just to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm having fun. People are enjoying the content. Yeah. As far as Resident Evil 9 and the future of Resident Evil, I would love to see more characters returning, like Jill and Claire and Steve, and characters that were like lost to the franchise. But I don't know. I'm hoping that they just go, like, I'm not a fan of the first person ones as much. I prefer like the third person games, whether it's classic controls or like the remake styles. But I want more of that. What about you? Oh,
Absolutely love to see.
okay. You were muted for a second. Sorry, continue.
Don't silence my opinions, Kai. Jesus.
Mute.
So I don't tend to think about it a lot, if I'm really honest. Like I said, I'm very different emotions about Resident Evil, but if I enjoy the game and I think it's money well spent, then that's what matters to me. But obviously I would love to see Jill, love to see Leon, love to see Claire, love to see Chris. Like, if I could see all of those in a game, I absolutely would love that. But is that going to make sense? I would much rather a game make sense than just a cash grab. Like, look, here's Leon, look, here's Jill. Like, I'd much rather the quality be better than that. So
Yeah.
I'm really open to anything, if I'm honest.
All right. Elegons asked. A lot of people. A lot of people asked for steps on how to become a gaming YouTuber. They want to know what equipment is used, how long it took to get followers. Oof, that's a lot to get into. We could do like a whole podcast about that, because, yeah, I'm gonna save that question for a different podcast, because I've got someone in mind who can help with that. Fatal Bliss, what would you suggest to be the best game to introduce someone new into the series? And what has inspired you to keep your channel going? Well, that one's easy. The viewers inspired me. Have you ever gone through times you wanted to give up? Oh my god. Negative comments are the worst. Be nice on the internet. Okay, so what would you suggest is the best game to introduce someone new to the series? I really want to say the classic Resident Evil 2, but I know that the controls are a real hurdle for people. Like, I know that can be very difficult because the tank controls, like, I mean, I remember when I got Resident Evil 2, I literally couldn't get past the first screen, like where the cars are on fire and you're there, because I just couldn't figure out how to move. And then one day my cousin came over and he like picked up the controller and he's like, oh, it's like this. And then it all like clicked and I was like, oh my god, I get it. But having said that, there is the Resident Evil 2 remake now, which is much more accessible. There's also Darkside Chronicles, which is just a simple shooter, and it tells you the whole story of the games if you just want like an easy to digest version of it. So that's my answer.
I would probably say 4, because it's modern enough to make you want to play the newer games, but it's still old enough with the tank controls to make you think, oh, let's try the originals and see where it started.
So with that, I'm very interested because I was with the franchise from the beginning, but what was it like seeing Leon in Resident Evil 4 and then going back and seeing him in Resident Evil 2? Like, what I'm so curious as to what that perspective is like.
My first thought was, wow, Leon's ginger.
Aw. No one knows what his real hair color is.
No, I mean, like I said, when I first started playing it, I didn't like getting, the meme of RE4, like, no thanks, bro, and all that. Like, I didn't like listen to the story. I played the game, and then like the second times I played it, I listened to it all, and I was like, oh, this is actually a really sick game. And then going into RE2, it was like I was thrown back in time, 100%. Like, I won't lie, it felt like a different person. I still feel like RE2 Leon and RE4 Leon are different people if you went to the original. But if you put the remake and RE4, then it like makes a lot more sense. They definitely fixed a few things in the remake, I would say.
Yeah. Okay. Sydney. I love Sydney. Kai, what was your inspiration for your album Cerulean Dreams? appealing to my ego. I don't think I have a copy of my album. Well, the album cover, but I don't know, like the whole album is just inspired by 80s and 90s stuff. I'm really, really into vaporwave and like 90s aesthetics, and it all just came from that. And specifically the RGB waves going across were inspired by like old TVs that used to run on RGB, like whatever they were called, those little squares. But that's the simple answer.
Here as well, by the way. Like, I'm learning more about you as we go. Because like we know a lot about each other, but not everything.
Yeah, that's true. We're gonna learn a lot through these podcasts, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Elegons, this is on the fanfic side, but discussing with someone on what direction you'd like to see the Resident Evil storyline and characters go. So this is more of what I would personally want to see, which I haven't really thought about. Because, well, I don't know, like, part of me would like a little more kind of maybe romantic relationships to form, but at the same time I feel like that would ruin a lot of characters and relationship dynamics. But the one thing that I would love to see is Jill and Leon together. I think like they would have an amazing storyline together, and I totally ship them. But that's my personal like want. And of course Claire in everything.
Only over here.
Ooh.
I just made you cringe inside, did I?
No, it's just your mic cut out for a second, so I had to figure out what you said, but I got it.
Sorry, I'll get a bit closer. It's fine.
So if you could do anything and actually influence the story, what would you want to see?
This is very controversial opinion. I would love for to learn their lives before everything happened. Like,
Ooh,
you know
yes.
how like you have Until Dawn, Little Hope, you know, all those games. Have you played those games?
Yeah.
So you basically walk around and make decisions, and I just think that would be amazing. Just, you know, being Leon and being in his life, and like even like you could have a game where, you know, it never happened and they just meet each other and like they start dating. That would be so cool.
Oh my god, that would be so cool. Like Leon's first day, but he's just a cop and there's no outbreak.
Yeah, exactly.
Resident Evil, what if? That would be so cool.
Even a TV show. Even a TV show would be great.
No, that's what I've always said, is these characters are so good that we could literally just watch them, like, living their lives. And what you said, I've always thought about that. Like, I want to see Claire when she was in college, and, like, when they were younger and their parents died and Chris was taking care of Claire and that relationship. Like, you know, Leon with his whatever, like, police academy training. That's why I made that, like, little visual novel game just to, like, test out. Like, there's so much that you could do. I mean, Resident Evil has really grown bigger than I think it ever meant to be. Like,
oh, yeah, for sure.
I mean, even Shinji Mikami, the creator, after the first game, he was like, I'm done. I want to work on something else. Like, he was over it. And Capcom was like, you get to work because you're making us money. We're going to get this franchise going.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that would just be the, like, I guess you could call that a dream for sure. Because, you know, I'd rather see it done seriously than some really questionable videos on the internet. That's for sure.
Definitely. And Beep asked, if you could make your own dream Resident Evil game, who would the main character in the campaign be? Obviously Claire. But I would also love, like, Leon and Jill, like I said, to be in it. But Claire does not get enough screen time. And I saw a comment on Twitter that really hurt me. Like, I felt personally attacked. Someone was comparing, it was like a contest to see which one's more popular, and it was Jill versus Claire, and somebody commented, they're like, oh my god, Jill's like this amazing trained special officer who can do this and do that, and Claire is Chris's little sister, and that's it. And I was like, oh. And it's true, like, I mean, when you really break it down, Claire hasn't contributed really anything substantial other than, like, just her feats of survival, and it's like really sad.
That's probably why they're adding it into the new film that's coming out, because you can see in the trailer and like figuring out behind the Umbrella Corporation. So, I mean, the thing is, that almost makes her even cooler. Like she's survived, and all she is just the little sister, supposedly. Like that's awesome. I love that. Like a normal person.
Yeah, but there is also like, I mean, it's a little far-fetched. As much as I love Claire, there are some like, not plot holes, but it's like, because like Code Veronica especially, she went from like, it's only 3 months after Resident Evil 2, and she went from just being like, oh my god, we gotta survive, to like, you know, like that opening sequence where she's like running and they're shooting her with a helicopter and there's explosions and she like catches her gun in midair. It's like, okay, Claire, calm down, like.
She went to boot camp in those 3 months.
Well, no, it's more like she like logged into the Matrix and downloaded like. She's like, I know Kung Fu now.
I love Code Veronica X. Can I just say that for a second? That's the game that I grew up with, watching my brother play. You know, this, you know, you've got the dogs get you in the very first scene when you got to go and unlock the gate in the courtyard. I think it's like that. That is like the epitome of not the table. The epitome of Resident Evil for me is sitting there watching my brother play this game and just being happy.
Yeah, I think Code Veronica is so underrated. People like just don't like it for some reason. No one ever wants to play it, although it is really hard and it's really long.
Two things I don't mind the other day of the week.
Well, there you go. That's why you like Code Veronica. It's the longest, hardest Resident Evil game.
Order now.
Call 1-900 Code Veronica. Anyway. No, but Code Veronica was like really cool. I mean, I freaking dressed up as Steve for Halloween, so.
Exactly. We love that for you.
Shut up. Like, hey everyone, I'm Steve, and everyone's like, yeah.
Of course you are, yeah.
Uh-huh, good job. Okay. Mako asks, I have a question. Which handgun I think he's saying which handgun do you think is the most weak?
No, I can't answer this. I don't know any of the names.
I'm not that good with guns. Actually, speaking of Code Veronica, the Lugers suck. You can cheat them into like being usable weapons because you get them in the game, but they don't have any ammo. Like Claire can equip them, but they don't have any ammo, so you can't shoot them. But like when you do give them ammo, you'd think that they'd be super powerful. They suck. They're like awful. They barely do damage. So
yeah,
the golden Lugers, they're for decoration, and that's it.
I mean, I could give an answer, but I don't have any other evidence from any other game. But the gun that you start off with in Village was awful. I agree with that.
But at least you could upgrade it.
Yeah, you could upgrade it, 100%. But I did not like
it. Okay. Anyone who asks about the new movie, by the time this podcast is out, the movie will already have been out. So I'm gonna skip any questions about the movie.
I'm gonna go see with my new friend Rob, by the way. I'm so excited.
Oh, nice. So, Diamond, how are you doing? Like, just in general. I know I haven't talked to you in a little while, but, you know, there's the pandemic and these uncertain times.
It's different everywhere around the world at the moment. Life here it's manageable, definitely. I think everyone's deals with things very differently. Depends how deep you go into it. Like, I'm okay. Like, I'm happy with where my life is at the moment. But, like, if you go deep down into it, there's a lot of questions about my life, 100%. And a lot of, like, insecurities. So, is anyone actually ever okay is my question, really.
No, and that's like a big thing I think people aren't understanding. Like, at least in America, I don't know if this is happening for you, but I've noticed a lot of news stories of people shooting people in traffic, stabbing people in grocery stores, like just these, and not just like people going on a killing spree. Like, there's actual events of like severe rage in a moment that shouldn't have happened where people are hurting each other. And I think it comes down to people haven't been taking care of their mental health throughout all of this, and it's so important. And I know I sound like a fucking doctor, like a hippie, like you got to take care of yourself, but you do. And it's not that hard. Like, do a little bit of exercise, go for a walk, get some fresh air, be maybe around some people every now and then that you like. I don't know. It's kind of scary. I'm legitimately scared to leave the house these days.
I mean, you know, you can do everything that you think you need to help and things like that, but you need to remember that you can only fix what you let be fixed. If you are the person that's in front of like your freedom, you need to remove that. So like, how do I put it? I know all the ways that I can help myself, but by doing that, it means I have to put myself out there and do it, and that is what's holding me back, is that fear. So like, I know if I learned to drive, if I, you know, moved out, I would get this sort of independency that would make me grow as a person, and it might possibly fix something that's inside of me. But when it's a chemical imbalance, it's very, very hard to know what's best for you. So if you're, you know, I mean, I hadn't been diagnosed, but it runs in the family 100% with depression and anxiety. And I think everyone needs to know their limit, to know how far they're willing to struggle before they start seeking actual medical help. Like, because I think everyone needs therapy, regardless if you have mental health issues. Like, you just need someone to talk to.
Yes.
Like, it doesn't matter, like, you know, where you come from, what you've done. Sometimes you just need to get things off your chest. Like, otherwise it eats away at you. So,
and that's why it's important to have at least one friend that you can go to, like what we were talking about earlier, where you're both giving and receiving like support from each other. It can't be a one-way thing, because if you have someone who's just always unloading on you, that's really unfair. If you have a friend like that, you need to tell them that that's not okay, and if they keep doing it, maybe find a new friend. Yeah. But I've always I've always thought that there should be some sort of service where like it'll match up people based on what issues they have, and they can talk to each other about it. It's not like a therapist, but it's just someone who you can talk to who relates. Like, I mean, think about how great of a service that would be. Like, let's say you have a woman who lost someone, like her husband, to cancer, and then you have a man who lost his daughter to cancer. Those are two people who could talk to each other and really heal, you know? And maybe they're not therapists, but...
I'm going to have a controversial opinion here. I'm not going to agree with you.
Really?
Unfortunately. So, only because I've witnessed this firsthand. I do believe that mental health can help mental health. Like, you know, trauma can make people come together in ways, even though you try your best to push each other away from it. You know what I mean? I think sometimes when you have your own issues and then you have to think about someone else's issues, it can clash very, very badly. Like, so I have like zero real experience in dating. I've had like really bad, not really bad, but like, you know, I was seeing a guy and he was seeing 3 other people. Like, we weren't serious and stuff like that. Like, things like that has happened that kind of like pushed my trust away, like trust issues. But I don't have trust issues, that makes sense. But I couldn't imagine now, with knowing how my brain works, like if I could deal with myself and then also be like, wait, my boyfriend's over there and I haven't spoken to him for 2 days because I've been thinking about this one thing I did 10 years ago. And do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I do think sometimes you need the opposite, because like you say, opposite track, you need someone to pull you away from the hole that you've dug yourself, if that makes sense.
So just a reminder to everyone, Diamond is taking daddy applications, so be sure to fill those out.
Is the things I can do.
It's all here in this pamphlet. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, God.
Just written down with napkin.
It's like,
Oh my God. Yeah,
okay, well, to sum all of this up to anyone who is listening who maybe has depression or anxiety, know that everybody gets depression and anxiety. No one is immune to it. No matter how happy or perfect you think someone is, I guarantee you there are times that they're eating ice cream and crying in the shower. Like, it is something that we just deal with as humans. I consider it the burden of being such an intelligent species, is we have too much intelligence and internalization and all that stuff. If you truly do not have anxiety or depression, there's something wrong with you in the best way, and appreciate that. But what I do recommend, and I always tell people this, and I could back it up with like sources if you want to see for yourself, but a little bit of exercise and a healthy diet will change your fucking life. And I'm not exaggerating when I say I'm completely serious. There's a TED Talk from a doctor. Give me a second. Oops, that's covering your screen. I'll edit this out. YouTube exercise.
I do agree with that.
Hold on. Shh. I'm gonna edit all this out. Okay, so there's a TED Talk by a doctor named Wendy Suzuki. It is 15 minutes long. It will completely change your life if you listen to it. She is a neuroscientist who was working on something related to memory, and then she started doing some exercise because she was depressed and sad, and all of her research changed to focus on that. And she breaks down how exercise is not really for your body. We all associate exercising for like our body health, but it really does things for your mental health. We as humans are designed to move and to do things. Just, I promise you, watch it and you will not regret it.
Okay. I want to touch on that just to give all aspects of mental health, because so this is, I don't say it's a bad opinion, it's just opinion that not people like to talk about. Because I don't put it into words. So you can be depressed, you can have anxiety, and that's totally valid. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not saying it's not valid. But it's when people start to say that they have depression and they have an anxiety disorder, we need to, understand that there are these people out here who have a chemical imbalance and cannot physically control the way that they feel. So although I'm fully there for the video and, the life change and everything like that, I totally I wish I could watch that video and it could change my life. But my depression and anxiety and just mental health in general sucks the life out of everything. And someone to watch that video, it would almost, want for a better word, feel insulting to watch. Because it's like someone saying, you can fix your life, you can do it. And for some people, they can't see that light. They cannot see it. And this, I really want to emphasize this. This is why people need to realize if they need help, you should get the help.
And I completely agree with that. I know exactly what you're talking about. And I failed to mention a really big part of my personal history with mental health that is going to make this very relevant. And then you'll understand where I'm coming from. I have gone to the ends of the earth trying to find methods of mental health and self-care that do not require any sort of prescription, medication, chemicals, whatever. And the reason is, when I was young, my mom took me she swore up and down that there was something wrong with me. So first it was ADHD, and then it was this, and I ended up getting diagnosed as bipolar. You know me. I'm not fucking bipolar. But a doctor's job is to prescribe pills, and there's that whole pharmaceutical business. I'm not going to get into all of that, but I was on 6 different medications at once, including lithium as a 13-year-old, which is now illegal to prescribe to anyone, I think, under 18. My hair was falling out. I was sleepwalking, and it was this thing where I remember being in school, and it was as if all the joy, all the sadness, all the emotions you could possibly feel were just pulled out of me, and I was like a zombie. Things weren't as colorful, and everything was so dull. And this is a big reason I'm a gamer too, because I'd get home at the end of my school day, and by then the medications had worn off. So not only am I coming back, but I'm jumping into my video games, which are my escape, and they would just be these super amazing, vivid things. But now, as an adult, I have severe memory problems, which and I deal with a lot of stuff, and also dementia runs in my family. So doing all the research, I've just learned that for my personal mental health journey, prescriptions did a lot of harm physically and mentally that I can never probably undo. Not to mention I was also eating nothing but McDonald's and junk food as a kid, and I was very, very unhealthy. So after going through all of that, now as an adult, I'm always looking for things, and my successful formula for anxiety came down to 2 things. Exercise, 3 things. Exercise, healthy diet, and then my gummies, which are my version of taking a a pill or a prescription, which I also recommend. But that's my adding to why I understand where you're coming from, but you have to understand where I'm coming from.
Oh yeah, exactly. I do you know what, I wish that your way was the only way. I really do, because I'm scared to take pills. I would if you imagine the amount of reactions you can get from pills, and the most common side effect of going on antidepressants is to feel depressed and suicidal. So it's like,
Yeah.
you're fighting fire with fire, and I know eventually it will fizzle out, but yeah, I totally get what you're saying as well.
Well, you guys don't have the drug commercials like we do. Like, as far as I know, you don't get prescription pills in your commercials, right? For TV.
No.
So we get them, and it's like a running joke in America, because it'll show some woman like doing something like having this amazing life, but then it shows her like before, and it's all black and white, and she's like depressed or whatever, and then it's like with this pill you'll do this, and then like the words are going across the screen like the side effects may include like unexpected pregnancy and death, and it's like, wait, what? Like
It sounds exactly like a tampon advert in the UK.
no, it's awful.
It's like, I can't do anything because I'm a woman. Oh, but here's the sanitary towel. I can go jumping on a trampoline and not have to worry about it.
Yeah, it's exactly like that, except at the end of the commercial, it always lists like a million side effects that will give you more problems than the one thing you're trying to fix.
Yeah.
And like, I'm not joking, it'll literally be like, side effects may include rectal bleeding and like loss of vision and paralysis, and you're like, and this is what? To cure what? And it's like for like, you know, to make your skin glow, or like to cure toenail fungus. And it's like, okay, well, yeah.
Let me just talk about that real quick. Female contraception. Do not go on it unless you have read all of the side effects, all of the like possible things that can happen to you, because it has messed me up for 3 or 4 years. Just want to put that out there. Women, do your research. Don't just go on it because you don't want to use a condom. Trust me.
So I shouldn't take these? I'm just kidding.
I can't believe I went through all this emotion from contraceptive pill for a man.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. Like, wearing a condom's not that big of a deal.
I don't really think. I mean, I've known men to say, "Oh, it makes such a difference," and I guess it's selfish for us women to be like, "Oh, it doesn't make us difference," because, like, you know, it's the same thing for us. But we need to make it normalized for women to not have contraception, because it's such a thing of, you need to have it if we're gonna have sex. You need to have that. You don't need to get pregnant. We can't get pregnant. Well, how about you get the snip? Do you know what I mean? Like, not necessarily do that, but like, there needs to be less of a stigma about it. 100%.
Oh yeah, I would much rather get a vasectomy than have to put a girl through that, because that's not fair. And I know 100,000% that I am never gonna have kids. I never want kids.
Oh, I don't know what I'm gonna do in my life.
Oh man, we're gonna have like a whole sex chat podcast.
Yeah. Oh, working in retail has given me a hatred for children, but not in like, only in some ways. I love my little cousins. They're like brilliant because I know them. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, but you know, you can also like be like, okay, not my problem anymore.
Yes.
And parents don't have that luxury. Oh my god, hearing these neighbors and their screaming children all fucking day, I'm like, I have made the right choice in my life. You know, I think mostly it's a financial thing these days. Like, it's really sad because there are some people who dream of having a family and kids, and like, you just can't afford it.
That's what I mean. Like, I think there's definitely been quite a few lockdown babies.
Oh yeah.
100%. And whether they were made on the right decision or not, I don't know. But all I know is that with each generation, the kids are losing respect.
I saw a chart yesterday on some website that showed the least to most common days of birth. It was like all the days of the month or all the days of the year, and it was like the darker the color, the more common the birth was, and it seemed like almost all of the dark ones were between like September and November. I don't know why, or maybe like August and October, but it was like that area. So if your birthday is between like August and November, you probably share a birthday with a lot of people.
Well, I'm August 10th.
Oh,
So
you're just
probably.
right at the beginning. But
Random
like,
fact, I have the same birthday as Kylie Jenner.
hold
Don't
on,
know how I feel about
what is 9 months before, like, let's say in the middle, like October? So
Oh, don't ask me that question.
wait, October is 10.
Yeah.
I guess Valentine's Day maybe,
Yeah,
like,
sounds about right.
because you got
I
some
mean,
early babies, some late babies.
you'd think some people would conceive on Valentine's Day for sure, because it's the day of love.
I asked my parents how I was conceived. Well, I asked my mom, and I was
Wow.
like, was it like a cool like were you thrown into like a thing and he just had his way with you? And she's like, no, we had sex in the car. And I was like, oh, that's it. I was like,
I know
that's
I was
boring.
planned. That's for sure. But I didn't ask about the conceiving
No,
because
our family, like, we have no boundaries. Like,
I know we don't. But as soon as it starts to become specific, like specific
oh,
things
like
you
too
do to
many
someone,
details.
yeah, I don't want to know like that. My brother's very like that, and I have to be like, shut up, don't want to hear.
Yeah, I guess I'm the same way.
Oh,
We once it gets too specific, I'm like, okay, I'm good, thank you. I've
because
got
it's
the
like I know
information I
my
needed.
brain. Yeah, my brain is one of those brains where it would take something that made me feel uncomfortable and will remind me for the rest of my life. Yes.
So, speaking of that, I do this weird thing, and I don't know if I'm the only one, and I don't know if this makes me creepy or not. But like when I see couples, I always try to picture them having sex, and I'm like, what does
I
that
do
look
it
like?
all the time. I did it on the tube in London. I was just like, I wonder,
Like, what are they
how would she
into?
take it?
Because you never know. Like, some people
Yeah.
have crazy sex. Like, I saw this great Reddit story where this grandma said that she was often like the parents would just call her and be like, "Could you come take care of, the kids or whatever?" And she loved her grandkids, so she was like, "Sure." And one day they were like going through their stuff and found these videotapes. And when they looked at the videotapes, it turns out that the parents were like having these gangbangs where the wife was like the
God.
central focus, and all these men would come and just like destroy her.
Yeah,
And she said like every time after that, when they would like ask, "Could you babysit?" they would just giggle because they knew what was happening. But I'm just like, wow, like what?
that's a lot.
But that's what I mean. You don't know, like, I mean, there's like couples that are into pegging and like they're yeah.
What's pegging again? I keep seeing it on
That's like
Twitter.
when the woman like fucks the guy with the strap on.
Oh, okay. I keep thinking of the Eiffel Tower.
Which
I don't
no,
know.
that's a threesome when two guys high five from either end.
Yeah. Okay, that's it.
By the way, something I want to quickly mention. We're about to wrap up, but this is something that I think people don't think about often, especially with men. Like, we always assume like men are dominant and women are submissive, but that is not like, maybe it's like more often the case, but there are some submissive men and some dominant women out there, and you all just got to find each other. Like,
I mean, I haven't found one, but that's
yeah,
just me and my personal
because
experience. But there you go.
to me, you strike me as a more like dominant female. And that's not saying like
Yeah.
like, oh, he's whipped or like whatever. I mean literally sexually. There are some men who want to
Yeah.
be thrown around and like treated like a toy, and then there's like women who want to do the throwing around and be like, no, you're gonna be my bitch. And like, I think that's really cool, and more people should embrace that. If you're a guy and you're more like the Lady Dimitrescu thing, for example, like, look at how many people were like, oh yes, mommy, like, that's what I'm talking about.
No, no, please, no.
Yeah, it's like
No, I
it doesn't make you like weak or gay or whatever you want to call it. Like, it's totally
no.
normal.
It's
Like, own
just
it.
sometimes it's just pressure, if that makes sense. Like it's something on top of having sex that changes the whole energy. That's what it is. It's because, and it can also like make it less boring. Because I don't, girls, do you feel me on this? When you've been
Oh yeah.
going for an hour and you start thinking about what you're gonna have for dinner when you get home, whether you got to put some washing on, and you're just like,
See, that's my problem, because I take forever. Like, most of the time I take way too long. Like, there's those guys who come too fast. I have the opposite problem where like I've literally seen my partners just be like I know they're like, okay, my TV show is gonna be on in like 10 minutes. Like, Like, can we wrap this up? And I'm like, okay, I'm sorry.
You got to find the perfect like blend of it.
And
really.
on the other hand, on the other side of that coin, if you're someone who finishes quickly, finish your partner off before you're done. That is, I when I watch these movies, when the guy comes and he's like, well, later, girl, it's like, no, like, you made an RSVP, you come, okay?
Just as a fact for you men out there, most of our orgasms are not from vaginal sex.
Gotta play DJ. Yeah, just frick. That's all you gotta do. You got fingers, you got a tongue, you got your nose, your eyelashes. Use your whole face. Just get in there. Exactly. It will happen. Like,
and it's not, ask. Is that the right place? Is that the right spot? To the left, to the right.
Yeah.
To the back.
Just be like, yeah, you like that, bitch? No, I'm just kidding. It's like, bop it, flick it, smack it.
Twist it. If your aim of the night is to leave them satisfied, then do it however you need to do it. And if that means stopping and being like, what am I doing wrong? Then fair enough, because at least you'll both be happy in the end. Yeah,
and gentlemen, let me tell you, like, women will appreciate it so much if you finish them off after you're done. Preferably, like, try to hold on as long as you can. And another tip that I can give, because there have been a handful of times where I was like, oh, this is going to end faster than I wanted to, is stop, like, pull out, and then do what you got to do, and then continue when, things are more progressed. Like, it's not rocket science, but some people, like, just don't understand, like, just because you're done does not mean the party's over.
Exactly. And that's too much information, but there are ways to train your body, to not be so quick.
Yeah.
Something denial.
Yeah, and do not listen to that. And there's something about Mary. A lot of guys like did that thing where it's like, oh, don't go on a date with a loaded gun. No, you do. And if it doesn't lead to sex, then you finish yourself off after the date and go masturbate or whatever. But if you do that and then you aren't ready for sex because you already took care of it, and then sex does happen, now you're in a bad place.
Exactly.
I love talking about sex. Like, I could talk about this. Like, we're gonna have to do like a whole thing about this. I felt like the
weird girl in college because I'd be sitting there like, oh my god, look at all these fetishes. Look at this. There's one for mucus.
Okay.
I'd be like reading all these like really cool facts, and they'd be like, do your work.
No, fetishes are really fascinating. Like, when I started learning about them, I'd be like, there is a fetish for the most specific things. We're gonna save all this. I don't want to get into it because we're already done with today's episode. But like, I guess we're gonna have to get people to send in some sex questions and like.
Oh god, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't done everything, but I've done everything enough to have an opinion, if that makes sense. So like, I'm happy to talk.
I am pansexual, and I have done everything you can possibly do. Like, pretty much literally everything you can possibly do. So I'm very well qualified. What?
Have you been peed on?
No, but I've peed on someone. I'm not into that. But they were, and I was like, sure. I was like, I need to pee anyway.
I'll take a piss anyway.
All right, and on that note, that is the end of this episode. Thank you so much for Diamond for being here. We're still kind of testing things out. These episodes are probably coming out like a couple of weeks after we've like recorded them, so just keep that in mind. But if you do want to send in questions, you can send them on the Ink Ribbon Discord server. We have a whole channel dedicated to that. You could also tweet me or go to the YouTube community page, but I don't know if I will see them because they're going to be all over the place. But anyway, that's it for today, and I don't know how to end the podcast, so I'm just going to say goodbye. Have a great day.
See you later. Bye.